Welcome back to another episode of Tech Ascent, the podcast where we dive into the trends, strategies, and success stories that are reshaping the tech landscape as we know it today. I'm your host, Oliver Clingain. I'm also the founder of Ascension, the premier biz development partner within tech. Today, we've got another great guest join us, joined by Dan Thomson, the founder and CEO of Sensay. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Would you mind kicking us off, just telling the audience a little about yourself and what you guys do at Sensay?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm originally British, from just a small town outside London. Basically, my background is quite a strange mixture of philosophy, entrepreneurship, and a bit of finance, a bit of Web3, and then all the way through to the AI. Sensei has been a big part of that, especially over the last few years, obviously, since we've been building it. But it feels like it was the culmination of everything that I'd done before and everything I'd sort of been through. So when I was at university studying philosophy, I was focused on the philosophy of identity and existentialism, this idea of, what really makes us us. And that came really to a front a few years later when I actually wrote a couple of books around the concept of mind uploading and digital immortality, when we live in an age where we have so much data about ourselves that we can, when combined with sufficiently advanced AI, a version of us will be able to interact with generations to come in a way that we can't now. It's actually quite sad that we get to a state in civilization where we forget people are 2 or 3 generations, and there's not really, you might know stories, you might know names, you might know something they did, but it's very rare that you know who they were as a person. And even some of the most famous characters in history, the famous people in history, you have these like secondhand recordings of who they were, but very rarely you get the inner thoughts in the day to day. And so we have this like, incredible opportunity in front of us, this golden age we live in where we have all this data around us, and we can be anyone we want to be. And with the advancement of AI, we actually have an opportunity to turn that into something that it creates a digital legacy for ourselves. And so I wrote these books. One was more philosophical, the other one was more of a roadmap as to how to do it. And so when AI really exploded into the scenes coming, 2 years ago now, 3 years ago now almost, I realized it was a time to start building. And so probably around two and a bit years ago now, I started putting together a team that became Sensay, and we've gone through a few evolutions with the ultimate goal of creating this form of digital immortality and creating these like lifelong digital replicas that can act as you and be you into the future generations and manage your assets and basically, help create an extension of yourself in, via this AI and digital format. And over the last couple of years, Sensay has actually evolved into quite a few different iterations of how the stepping stones we work on to get there. But specifically, we've been working on this engine, this wisdom engine that can actually capture knowledge, tacit knowledge, messages, social media, any documents, any files, any websites, and turn it into a useful engine going forward, so that the outputs from this engine can do things for you, whether that's post on your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whether it's draft your emails, or act as a second brain that you can talk to for advice based off of your own preferences and knowing what you know. And so that's got a huge amount of different implications and applications in the world. We've identified 50 different verticals that could be built out of this. Everything from education to healthcare to, job hunting, matchmaking, dating. Like there's so many different ways that having a digital replica of someone can be applied, that we've actually built out an API on top of our wisdom engine to enable these different use cases for anyone to come and build on.
Very cool. And with all these different use cases, Dan, being a founder, being a CEO, I'm sure you're wearing a lot of hats. How do you go about kind of prioritizing, picking your battles, kind of choosing how to prioritize? How are you going about that in your day to day?
It's a challenge. Well, we call it the shiny object syndrome. And I am the guiltiest of the guilty among the team who jumps on these things. So yes, it's very hard to prioritize. This is actually where the API came out from, because we realized we were jumping between too many different verticals, too many different ideas all the time. So we realized, what if we actually just take a step back and build out the engine and then enable access via the API, so that other teams can build out these different ideas and these different verticals. We can support them, we can help them, we can give them the ideas, but their success would be our success. And that's why, for the last, I guess since the API launched back in February, that's been a big focus for us to enable different teams to build out solutions. And we have our chat bots for sales, for websites, for businesses that are available there, that it acts as a great demo for this. So it shows how the API could be used. And there are a few API customers already out there that are using it and actually making these chatbots, some for influencer marketing, um, some for healthcare solutions, and a couple of recent ones for education as well. So but again, there are so many different ways this can be applied, and so many ideas that we haven't even thought of as to how, having the ability of creating replicas and creating these chatbots and characters could be used, or just, the ability to capture, preserve, and share knowledge is so important to so many different industries that we don't even really know the full extent of everything it could be used for. So for us, it's really fascinating. And in terms of how we stay focused now, it's become a lot easier recently. I think we've got a very clear vision on what we want to do and the products we want to release and the verticals and markets we want to focus on. And then, sure, like I said, otherwise we enable the ability for others to build out their ideas, and we can support them instead of trying to do it ourselves.
Makes sense. And you mentioned there you have a bit of a more clear vision than you did when you kicked off. When you came into the space, and even now today, AI in general has boomed in recent years, leading to a big influx of AI companies being born, including Sensay. How are you going about breaking through the noise and kind of differentiating yourself in a competitive market?
It's difficult. It really is. I think in the age where anything can be spun up in a few seconds, like you can go and type an idea into Bolt or Lovable or even the bigger LLMs, when you can create something out of nothing and have it functional pretty much in a few minutes through vibe coding, you take down a lot of the traditional barriers to entry. I think one of the big sort of differentiators now becomes creativity, the ability to pivot, and just the fundamentals of business, which is understanding a particular problem. Because I think, and we have someone on our team who's incredible at vibe coding, could literally spin up an idea a day, but without understanding a particular market first, understanding a particular problem that you are solving, and then having the distribution to get it out there and get it in front of people, actually have them willing to buy it, you still have the same problem of, oh, great, you've created something, but what now? And then you'll be on to the next idea and the next idea, which does work for some people, but it's very, very difficult to sustain that and actually make something work when everyone else can also spin up the same ideas quickly. Distribution is more important than ever. Sometimes, even brand and goodwill come a long way as well. So, we really like our branding, the name Sensay and everything that goes behind it to actually act as a differentiator there, as almost like a mark of quality. And I think that when there is so much noise, brands become important again. It becomes important to have distribution, have a solid brand, have something that people trust, because you will be inundated with different technologies out there and different solutions, and some will be great. But without a solid brand and a functioning product and a good team behind it, just the fundamentals of a good business, you can often fall behind.
For sure. You need that foundation to, especially in this space, you need that foundation to lean on.
Yeah, and I think that that we are genuinely going to see the first one person business $1 billion company, right? We're going to see that unicorn come out from a one person company. I think that will happen, but that aspiration won't be for everyone. It can't be for everyone, because you're talking about the very, very select few people who will be able to do that and have the mentality, have the focus and the willpower and be lucky enough with their timing and approaching a particular market with a particular product, and still the sheer grit that goes into entrepreneurship and actually building something and selling it. And that's very rare. And if it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. But the beautiful thing about this technology that we get to play around with now is that it does remove that barrier that was there for the last 20, 30 years of, you need people who are coders and techies to build something. Right now, anyone can go and build anything and go and validate something. And we're doing the same thing. We have a fantastic product idea that we're working on around knowledge transfer within enterprise. And to validate this, we actually spun up a vibe coded solution to put in front of potential customers before we build out, before we use any developer time, before we, waste any resources on it. So it's, this should be applied as a principle, from small companies, solo entrepreneurs, creatives, all the way through to big companies. You can all have that opportunity to test ideas in a much quicker, cheaper environment than has ever been possible before.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. And Dan, you've mentioned sometimes or you've credited your team a few times so far. Being the CEO, how have you gone about building a team that's forward thinking, innovative, and pushing things forward, kind of moving the needle for your business?
It's tough. Building a good team is probably one of the biggest challenges. There's always difficulties. But I think for us, we were very lucky to have a very talented HR manager in quite early. It's probably not the most recommended route usually, but Alessandro on our team has been staple in actually being able to find really, really great people and bring them to us. We also have we have quite a few hiring guidelines around principles that we look for. We look for people who are hungry, who believe in the vision and the brand, people who we would be happy to work for if they were our boss. And these kind of principles come in a lot because it motivates ourselves, motivates us to work with each other. It creates a lot of team respect. And especially when we're fully remote as well, it is a bit of a challenge to make sure that you keep the time alignment, alignment across the board. So having that clear vision helps a lot. And there have been times where that vision's been lost. And so making sure everyone is realigned into what the vision is and where we're going, what we're doing helps a lot to keep people sort of working and pushing in the same direction. Quickly getting rid of people that are, sort of essentially rowing the other direction is a very difficult skill. We're still definitely learning that ourselves and raising problems quicker and having better communication, especially again across different time zones. We've got people everywhere from Vancouver all the way through to Taiwan and everything in between, mostly in Europe. So trying to stick to kind of team time. But yeah, finding the right people is a challenge. I mean, we put a job advert out and we will have 50,000 applications now. And it's just very, very difficult to sort of sift through the noise. So taking personal recommendations, we also use things like hackathons as a way of, finding good people who are talented to come and work with us. And we basically just figuring it out as we go along still. But we're very lucky to have the team we have, and they are really incredibly fast at building and just extremely talented from every aspect. So we're very lucky to have built a team like this. But we've had to go through some of the pains along the way to get there.
I'm sure there's a lot of ups and downs. And Dan, in your experiences, would you say you're more of a technical founder? Do you like to get involved in the code? Are you more of a strategic, business oriented founder? Where's your kind of skill set lie?
I'm definitely not on the technical side. I've been very open and honest about that. My technical prowess is pretty much at the vibe coding level. No, I'm very, very lucky. The first person I actually called when we set up the company was my good friend Marco. Is a very talented CTO, has been for working and building large teams and working at large companies for a very long time. And so he was the first one I called up to bring on because I knew that he would be the right person to come and build the product for us. And so there's a lot of trust in that and can fully respect him to like get on with the technical aspects and just give the vision and the idea of what we want to build. And he can work on with the team to build it. That frees me up to do the things that I like to do, the sales, the marketing, the investor relations, the also some of the admin stuff that HR and finance and legal, which I'm probably a bit more geared towards. And so it's it's a great partnership. And then there's Shane also, who's our other co-founder. He works more on the sales and business development side, so partnerships, business development, sales, revenues, and it's a great way of working together. Just given our backgrounds, given our experience, and how we can actually put a team together behind that and keep us focused and moving forward.
Sounds like a good partnership. Everyone kind of fills each other's skill set gaps, things like that. Good spot to be in. And you mentioned yours is kind of the sales and marketing, Shane's marketing, business development. Growing in the AI space, like we said, there's a lot of noise in it. What do you think has been the biggest uphill challenge of getting Sensay's name out there, acquiring clients, things like that?
Yeah, and it's like you said, there's a lot of noise, and so again, with our shiny object syndrome and different sort of iterations along the way, it's been hard to get into particular market niches to really understand. And we fell into the same trap that a lot of people fall into. We built a product first, and then we try and find the problem, try and find the customer, which we're fixing it now a lot. We're really working on making sure that any products we do going forward are problem first and customer first, so that we actually understand what the problem is that we can fix for them. There is that's a hard skill to learn. But yeah, with a good team, good balance, and good support, and a good idea about what we're doing, what we're building, and why we're building it, I think that things do fall into place. We're very lucky to be quite financially stable. We actually did a sort of a bootstrapped self-funding pre-seed round last year with a crypto token sale. So not the conventional way of raising funds, but we have enough cash to experiment and build out and actually, work on ourselves, work on the company and fix some of the problems that we have. So yeah, it's a great partnership between us to be able to, balance out the different skill sets and actually make sense of success and lead a team together.
Nice. And Dan, I want to pull back to an earlier point. We mentioned the possibility with AI that there's a chance of the first company, one person company, turn into $1 billion company. Then we talked about luck there. Somebody I look up to kind of in entrepreneurship is Mark Cuban. He mentioned that most billionaires understand how much luck was involved in their process. You being an entrepreneur in the tech space, what is your perspective on luck, skill, willpower? What's your kind of perspective on all of that?
It's a great question, and one very relevant for me, I guess. I'm often called the luckiest person people know, and I refer to myself in that way as well. I think there is an element of perception. I think there's an element of the ability to take the hits and roll with them and roll with the punches. I think there's a lot of the time. I always say that I'm very lucky, and I am in a lot of ways. Not never fun, never gambling. Gambling, I'm terrible. I walk into a casino, that's my money gone. Everything else, like things always seem to kind of just work out for me. And I think that's not necessarily to do with the fact that I'm genuinely lucky in a different way to anyone else, but it's because if something bad happens to me, it doesn't affect me. I just kind of roll with it and okay, I'll learn from it and move on and, or laugh it off or find it quite funny. But then when you do just and then focus on the good stuff, you do kind of like, uh, if you are just focusing on the good things around you and the good things that happen to you, it does seem to yourself and to others that you are extremely lucky. But at the same time, I'm taking more risks. I'm being more adventurous. I'm going to more places. I'm doing more things. So maybe there is an element of, I'm doing a lot more stuff and probably have the same amount of downsides and issues and problems that everyone else has. But I just don't look at those bits. I look at the good outcomes and the good things that happen. And so because there's just more things happening, maybe that presents itself as being lucky. That said, there are also things that do just come through with luck. And that is probably because of taking risks, and a big element of success, I guess, when it comes to business is luck. If I looked around at 100 different businesses right now at the same sort of stage that we're at, knowing full well that 98% of them won't survive, because that's just the statistics in business. 98% of them won't survive. But I look at them, I look at these talented people, I look at these, incredibly intelligent, smart, capable individuals. And do I think like what really separates me from them? I'm probably not as smart, I'm probably not as capable, I'm probably not as driven, passionate. I don't know, whatever it is that these people have, and they have so much of it. But what separates, people who do get ahead from not, and I think there sometimes is just an element of luck that does go into it. Whether or not that's because of the risks you take, because of whatever else, but I'm assuming people are taking similar risks, but sometimes those risks just don't pay off. So the luck of being the ones that do make it, really does kind of, it has to play into things, and there's no rhyme or reason. I don't think, Mark Cuban is again, a capable, intelligent, smart man. He comes from, a lucky background to start with, and he's worked off to get to where he is. Is he any more capable than the people that you would go and watch him? I don't think so. I think he's nothing particularly special over a lot of other businessmen out there, but he's had a lot of opportunities, been in the right place at the right time, and these things do help. And you can help yourself by putting yourself in those positions. I think it's the old case of if you were selling bananas in Beverly Hills versus the downtown Detroit or something, right? Like just by being there, you're selling the same product, but because you're putting yourself in that position, you're more likely to be able to sell it for $10 instead of one. And it's a lot of the time it just comes down to that as position is placed, and it's the network and the ability just to put yourself out there and not worry about the downside, not worry about other people's opinions, and just keep pushing through no matter what. And I think maybe even survival is more important than luck overall, and people just often give up. Whereas I think survival is a bigger indication of success than anything else.
Hmm. For sure. Especially in entrepreneurship, it's kind of however many punches you can take, however far you can run before giving up is kind of the name of the game.
Yeah, and it comes from everywhere. It comes from your customers. It comes from your team, from governments. It comes from, finances. It comes from competitors. It comes from new technologies evolving. Like there are so many different ways that everything could just fall apart at any time, and so it really is a case of just being adaptable, being flexible, being quick to fix problems, and keep pushing people forward with and motivate people, which is the hardest thing to do when you're weighed down with the responsibilities of the HR, the finance, legal, all the things that come at you every day. To then be that guide, that person, that the one who is pushing everyone to do better and make themselves better. And I'm definitely not perfect at this myself. In fact, I've got a lot of learning to do on this as well. But I think that is a real incredible skill set that very, very few people actually have.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think we're one and the same in the mindset of if you look for good things, you'll find good things. If you look for bad things, you'll find bad things. I think it's really all about the perspective you take into your day to day. It's going to determine the outcome.
That's definitely true. Yeah, I mean, having positive outlook, it's not about necessarily manifestation or anything else. It's just being able to, take the good with the bad, but, looking at the good stuff, like being grateful for when it happens and almost just enjoying the whole process, good and bad. Like if there's something bad that happens, being able just to quickly sort it out, but then laugh it off, or, just not be affected by it. And, that takes practice. That takes a lot of sort of nonchalance and ability to sort of separate your mind from it. But it definitely is a nicer way of being than focusing on every bad thing that happens.
Yeah, for sure. And Dan, as we begin to wrap up the podcast, I know you've mentioned you've written a few books, you've learned a lot throughout your entrepreneurial journey. So I got one question for you. If there was one lesson you learned a little earlier in your entrepreneurial career or throughout your life in general that you could share now, what do you think that one lesson would be?
It's very hard to ask someone who reads a lot of philosophy. There are many, many, many lessons. I from, I guess, a business standpoint, it's just get started. I mean, if anyone's out there and they've got an idea and they're not sure, they think they need a business plan or partners or whatever else, relying on other people isn't going to get you where you need to get to. You've got to get in there, do the work, and just get started. Just put it out in front of people. Put yourself out there. That's try something out, and it's the hardest thing to like get over that fear of reaching out to someone and putting yourself out in front of. But at the end of the day, it's just rejection, and you could, there's plenty of stories of rejection that work out. Everything from J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter to the guy who created Squid Games, waiting decades to have his idea go onto a TV series to become the biggest TV series of all time. There are so many examples about there of just grit and just like pushing through. If you believe in yourself, believe in your idea, but getting yourself out there to start with is the only way you're going to find out whether or not something is there. Philosophically, I'm a big fan of the Stoics and Marcus Aurelius, and just remembering that essentially everything that we have and all the opinions of other people that we care about will also probably pass with time, and so it doesn't really matter. Like we shouldn't worry ourselves with what other people think of us just because they may not exist in the future and we may not exist in the future. So why do we spend so much time worrying about what everyone else thinks about us when it really doesn't matter that much? So that helps keep me sane a lot of the time.
Dan, I think I lean on that as well. Those are two great pieces of advice. And Dan, officially last question for you. Looking forward, what's the goals for Sensay? What's the mission right now? What's the vision for yourself?
We're really heavily working on this concept of knowledge transfer and the ability to become the leaders in capturing, preserving, and actually sharing knowledge. So the mission really is to be able to seamlessly capture, preserve, and share all knowledge using these AI tools. The vision overall is to basically capture humanity's greatest knowledge that isn't in the documents, isn't already in the files, isn't already there, using this advanced technology and making it available and useful to future generations. And we're starting with businesses, we're starting with helping with knowledge transfer, knowledge management, knowledge capture, and tying that into learning management systems and mentoring systems for medium to large size companies and even governments. But then hopefully one day we can actually move that concept into a civilization level, helping with the aging population and declining birth rates, enabling the elder generation to pass on their knowledge and actually have that available, combined with robotics to make it more survivable. If we haven't got kids to look after us when we're old, at least we'll have our knowledge, or a collective knowledge and a collective wisdom, combined with robotics to basically make life sustainable for us going forward, because we are going to get old, and when we do, it's not like right now where there's enough young people to kind of look after the elderly generation. That might not be the case for some Western countries in the future, but with this kind of technology and with the advancement in robotics, having that knowledge, having that almost like civilization level knowledge capture enables this human AI hybrid civilization that essentially means we don't need to worry about it.
Very cool. No, and it sounds like you guys have built a great foundation to make all that happen. So I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your story, sharing where you guys are trying to go.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Been a pleasure. And for everybody tuning in, I'll be sure to tag Dan and Sensay's website down below, his LinkedIn. Dan, is there anywhere else people can go check you out on, or are those the main two?
Yeah, you can find Sensay at Ask Sensay, Sensay, on pretty much any social channel. And myself, Sensay Dan, same, any communication channel, you can find me there.
I'll tag it all down in the description. But for everybody tuning in, thank you for giving us your time, giving us your attention. Make sure you hit subscribe down below. And Dan, thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
And thanks for having me.
Been a pleasure.